Great song.
Yeah, I thought you've heard that before.
Yes, indeed.
Megan, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Most people in America kind of look at the media askance and say, they're not fair.
Yeah.
But is that a fair portrayal of the media in general?
I've been in this industry now, Governor, for 15 years. I've thought about it. I've prayed with people about it. I'm convinced of a couple things. LA and New York, the centers of national media and entertainment, are two cities where life is busy, life is crazy, and in my experience, not a lot of people make time for faith or have forgotten to make time for faith. I think at the end of the day, there isn't a grand plan to keep faith and values out of media. There's just not enough people that have a seat at the table. And I have stories that I can share with you where I was just a person in the room raising their hand when nobody else was, offering up an idea about something connected to family values or faith, and it was just that I was there and took that seat at the table and was a voice. So I'm really passionate about believers staying in there and being influential and taking positions of influence in this industry.
One of the reasons we do this show here in the Heartland is because we feel like that the message and what we want to accomplish here is really about these folks that get lost over on the coast.
Yes.
So is it that they don't understand folks out here in the middle of America? Is that the deal?
For me, Governor, there's been a couple times where literally, I think we all bring a certain bias in whatever we do. Where we went to college, how we were raised, what church we attend. If we attend a house of worship, which way does it lean? And a quick example is when God's Not Dead came out a couple years ago in the theaters. Huge sort of sleeper hit that they called it. In my newsroom, literally everyone said, oh my gosh, this movie, did anybody see this movie? Crickets. And I raised my hand. I saw it. And everybody said, oh my gosh, okay, you have some connections. Nobody had a connection. It wasn't that they didn't want to, it just wasn't in their circle of influence. I see that over and over again. And it's that concept of, are people that have connections to faith and family values just in the mix of business? And are they decision makers too? Do they hang in there long enough to be decision makers in the industry? I see that all the time.
Megan, sometimes it seems that it's not the liberal conservative fight that everybody wants to make, the media versus America. It's a cynical attitude versus what I would call a wholesome attitude. People out here go to funerals and they, when they say to somebody, hey, I'm praying for your aunt, they really mean it. Nobody gets creeped out by that.
Yeah.
But people who live in the cynical areas of the world where everybody's in a hurry and nobody talks like that,
right.
Would that be a fair assessment that it's not always political, it's not always the horizontal left and right. Sometimes it's the lack of a vertical role that people have.
I think absolutely. I think they're busy, they're crazy. In our industry, we work holidays, we work 7 days a week. When breaking news happens, we have to go, and what do you start pushing aside? You know, for me, it's figuring out how to even make the Bible study sometimes because life gets so busy and crazy. I've also encountered people that had bad experiences with faith. I had a producer on a television show I was in on many, many years ago who had a bad experience with the Catholic Church. And so when there was an opportunity for us to do a segment of faith on this talk show that I was on, he wasn't excited about it. He didn't want to go there. And I found out the backstory, that he had been deeply hurt. So I think a lot of it is listening, finding out people's stories, trying not to rush to judgment, which I know is hard. We all do that, right, in life. But when you start learning about some of those things, you go, okay, that encourages me and gets me fired up to do better than ever, to be a positive influence when they've had a negative one.
Well, Megan, I really appreciate the courage of your convictions and the clarity and the boldness that you have.
Governor, my heart is for this next generation. I think we've got to empower these young people. I don't want them to be fearful when they go into this industry, when they hear the scary stories and see the scandals in the headlines. I want them to know it is possible, but go in with a game plan. Just as quarterbacks, when I cover Thursday Night Football, have their game plan. They've ran those drills. They've prepared, they've practiced. We as believers have to approach it that way and be prepared, get a good education, do excellent work so we can play with the big boys. I really believe we need to do that as believers.
Megan, thank you very, very much. What a great story, and delighted to have you here.
Congrats on this show.
Megan Alexander. And I encourage you to keep up with Megan and her rising career. I want you to check out her book. It's called Faith in the Spotlight. Wonderful book. If you loved what she said tonight, you will love what she has written in this book. And you can do it all at meganalexander.com. So please get a copy.